Hi there, Serial Trader here. Just want to do a bit more of a deep dive here on CGC and weed, and I'll only show CGC, but certainly all the analysis and equivalent levels in Canadian dollars would apply on weed as well, um, barring any differences between exchange rate fluctuations and that sort of thing, but largely the same. Okay, now on CGC here, bigger picture, and if I can just get, we'll go on the weekly time frame, maybe even the monthly. We'll see how this looks here. Okay, weekly time frame. This will work. All right. So on the weekly time frame, that high we had in October of 2018, I'm calling that cycle wave 1 up, and of course we had intermediate degree, primary degree 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into that cycle 1. We had that big ABC down into the December lows of 2018 and calling that cycle wave 2. And now, under that running assumption that we're working this very large degree impulse wave still in progress, I got primary degree wave 1 up, and that finished in February of 2019. And we appear to have just completed primary wave 2 down at the low there on April, let's see, on the daily chart here, low here on April 11th, and now tentatively working that we're heading up in primary wave 3 of what is part of this overall larger cycle wave 3, okay? And then of course you'd have a cycle wave 4 and 5 and on you'd go to complete the pattern, but kind of one wave at a time here before we get too carried away. But I really want to get into some targets at this point, now that it looks like we do have a good pivot for a wave 2. And since the last video we have been kind of building a base and making slightly higher highs and higher lows in kind of a congestive area, and looks like after hours we're getting some sort of breakout there. We'll see if it holds tomorrow. We'll get to that in a moment, but just for some upward targets based on some relationships and fib levels. All right, so we just have the more immediate reverse fib of just this corrective wave 2 down. The 1.32 gets us to 56.45. The where's the 2.0 get to us there? 2.0 gets us to around 63 and change there. So that's kind of your more immediate, easily attainable targets, but certainly not the only targets. Then we have just the equality relationship. So wave 1 up from the wave 2 termination point, just an equal move up, the same as the wave 1 magnitude would get us to 66 and change. And that'd be kind of a minimum objective for a wave 3, for it to be at least equal in length to wave 1. And then in that case, you'd probably be looking at a shorter wave 5. But if you had more of an extended wave 3, we have the 1618, and that gets us up to 82.61. Certainly not out of the question. And then we also have some relationships on this larger, so on cycle wave 1 up and cycle wave 2 down, we have some relationships based off of that. So the reverse fib of cycle wave 2 down, 1.32 gets us to 72.23. 2.0 gets us to 93.24. And again now, so wave 1 up, wave 2 down, that cycle degree, the equality relationship off that cycle wave 2 termination point will get us to 83.51. And the 1618, and this is where we get really extreme, but maybe it'll just take a period of time to get here. Certainly not out of the question given enough time. The 1618 of that will get us to 119.50, so almost 120. So certainly some very lofty targets, particularly the larger degree, longer term ones. And life would be real good up there at that 120 level. But I think in the more near term future, like say in the next number of weeks or a few months, we could certainly be looking easily into the 60s and possibly into the 80s there as well in the not so distant future. Okay, so I just wanted to go over kind of that bigger bigger picture outlook with those targets. Technically here, just shorter term here on this daily, we do have a nice break out of this corrective channel. So if we got our A, triangle B, C down, I've taken the subdivisions away just so we're not cluttered. So this wave C channel, we're breaking out of that quite nicely. The next significant channel to break out of would be this corrective channel, this all of wave 2 corrective channel. So to break out of that currently would be wanting to get above, 47, 48, that kind of thing. And overnight, it looks like we're well on our way to doing that, should those gains hold into tomorrow's session. And RSI coming off that almost oversold condition on the daily, and that just continues to be a nice signature marking these major bottoms, along with the other things I discussed in the last video. But we'll get away from this wave chart here now and just go to the thinkorswim candlestick chart. So before I go to the daily, this is just the hourly, and this is with the extended trading hours turned on. Now you can see this is the base channel I had drawn. Well, what I'll do is take off that extended just momentarily to show you what I was looking at. So this is the base channel that I had drawn. So maybe you got a 1 up, 2 down, and then another 1 up, 2 down of lesser degree, and now we're about to do a wave 3 of 3. This is kind of the picture I was looking at today before we saw what happened after hours. And some relationships. So 1, 2, this is the equality relationship, that's the 1, 6, 1, 8, that sort of thing. Now, if we turn on extended hours, we see what happened. And again, who knows how much of this will translate into tomorrow's trade, although you certainly expect some of it to. And, the picture's looking real good here. So we've broken out that base channel decisively. We've gotten well past the 1618, kind of confirmation of that smaller degree wave 3, price action in play here. And we've gotten, as high overnight so far, or extended hours, I should say, as 47.87, so almost 48. So well on our way to really confirming this new impulse wave in progress here. And I'll just go to the daily chart just to kind of run through that. And again, extended hours turned off here while I'm on the daily chart, just to go over the daily candlestick of today. So we have a nice bullish hammer and a close well above the T-line. We have the 3 T-lines starting to cross above the T-line. And, we have this 50-day moving average, which could provide a little bit of initial resistance, although overnight we just blasted right through that level and got it almost as high as 48. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, but certainly looks like we're off to a good start. Looks like we really caught a nice pivot there. My entry was within less than $1 of the actual low there of 39.66. Again, the entry was in the low 40s. At this point for a stock position, I think it would be appropriate, just put the stop above break even. So put the stop at 41, lock in a little bit of those gains, and you're still well below. If we go on to the hourly here, you're still well below some shorter term support levels, several of them. So 41 is right here, and you can see we have at least 3 minor support levels that you'd have to get through to actually test that stop, and that stop would still be above the entry. So I think that's a prudent thing to do at this point, and ideally this thing just keeps trending up, higher highs, higher lows, stop doesn't get hit, and then eventually we have other corrective patterns at much higher levels, and then resume the uptrend, and then we move the stop up below those levels at that point, and just ride this thing as high as we can. But I just thought I'd run through that. Definitely be interesting to see how tomorrow trades, given all the significant overnight action. And just one comment before I end the video is, often, you'll have this technical setup, you'll have these wave patterns suggesting, much higher levels, and everything looks great technically, but you say to yourself, well, what could possibly justify the kind of movement that's being suggested by the the technical analysis here? And then sure enough, big news comes out, or the market basically finds a reason for it. And you often, you get that jump on the fundamental guys because the technicals pointed you in that direction ahead of time, or at least, in real time, if not ahead of time. All right, that should be good for now. Certainly, I mean, I have major attention on this. This is by far my currently my biggest position that I'm watching, so that's basically getting all my attention right now. All right, Serial Trader signing off.